Hello friends. Since I just made a video talking about the nervous system and doing a restorative pose, I want to bring one more in. That is one of that one was for releasing the psoas and calming the nervous system, right? And I have two other ones that are my absolute favorites. They're my go-to and I do them a lot, right? Baddha Konasana, butterfly. And then this is my other one. Hello friends, it is that time of year, Vata, right? That wind element and that movement to settle down and feel the ground. It is that time of year, almost 2 years into this pandemic, with our nervous systems being on high alert and overworked and exhausted. And it is the busy season moving into the holidays. Shall I go on, right? All these different reasons. So I'm talking a little bit about nervous system this week and giving a couple of poses that might be really beneficial to you. Yes, I have filmed these in the past, but what I realize is people don't really go back to videos very much. They're kind of following me each week as I go. And so here it is again. You need a strap. You don't need a strap is helpful. You can do without, but you have something at your house. I'm sure you can tie around the legs, if not a D-ring yoga strap. And then a blanket is helpful for a little bit of height under the hips. That's not right for everybody, but we're going to try it. And if it's not right, you'll put your feet on the wall and move it out. So you need a wall, I guess, would be the other thing. So I have a Mexican blanket. I'll show on that. You are wise beings and you can figure it out, right? If you have a bolster, I know some of my friends have bolsters. I use a bolster personally, but most of us don't have those at home. So I'm gonna make something the shape of a bolster, right? Something about like that with a little bit of height, but not too much. Once you get familiar with it, if you know you want more height, make two stacks, right? Or not two stacks, but double blanket, taller stack. And you're going to put that up against the wall where it's just a couple of inches away. If you have a strap, you're going to take it around the legs. Now, a lot of people like it around their thighs. When I do this at home, I put two. I put one around my thighs and one around my calves. If I only have one, and take the time if you do have two items you can do it with. Really, I mean, treat yourself really well. The whole idea with these poses, these restorative poses, is to start to work on a deep, deep level with our nervous system. So take the time and support the heck out of yourself. It will be more calming to the system. I like mine around my calves when I go into this. You can experiment and play. I'm going to turn away from you for a moment because I think it's easiest to talk. Most of us are dominant on the right side. You could come in from the left and reverse the directions, right? I'm going to bring my hips up onto the edge, the very edge of that blanket. My right hip is down into the blanket and my butt is it's almost like I'm sitting on the wall, right? And then I'm going to bring my left hand onto the ground. And I'm going to take my right hand and like we do a thread the needle for the shoulders, I'm going to reach that past the inner left wrist, lay my right shoulder down, and now I'm in the fetal position on my right side. I roll onto my back. Seems like it should be so easy, but for many of us that's very complicated until we get used to the motion, right? I have that blanket underneath my sacrum and my pelvis, but not underneath my low back. I mean, it's catching very little bit of an edge. I have it away from the wall just a titch, so it's almost like my buttocks flesh just kind of gently falls down or eases over that other side of the blanket. If you don't like the blanket, feet on the wall, lift the hips, move the blanket, come back down and just be on the earth, right? For just a moment, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna flex my feet and push my heels up the wall as much as I can, right? I get my shoulder blades in place. I'm not in an upper back bend here, but I don't want my shoulders rounded up to the sky. My arms out, palms up like I would for Shavasana. Some people like cactus arms. I would say probably not overhead. It's not the worst thing ever. And if you have something going on, like I have a friend with who went through a mastectomy, and that is actually a place that helps her open that line. Like awesome, listen to your body for sure. But for most of us going overhead, it just activates the upper traps or gets them, really raised. So anyway, enough of that. Heels are still pushing up, right? But now I'm going to soften my heels. But if I keep them against the wall, it's almost like they hook into the wall, right?
At home, I have a sandbag that I put on my heels, so I have the weight of the sandbag. That's beautiful if you have something like that you can use, right? I'm on the very middle of the back of my skull. I close my eyes and I tune in. Right? I'm going to start up at my toes, and I'm going to soften my toes and my feet and my ankles. I'm going to soften my shins and calves, that whole lower leg, right, which is higher at the moment. My knees, my thighs, all sides, down into the hips. And for just a moment before we continue the scan, I want you to feel how the weight of the legs, right, just really brings those femur bones down into the hip sockets. And then again, I've been working a lot with this image of like almost like saltwater toffee, right? There's just this softness to that area. And then we're going to continue the scan through the belly and the low back, through the ribs, the chest, the heart, the lungs, the upper back, shoulders. Let's bring the awareness to the fingers and the hands, bringing that up through the wrists, the lower arms, the elbows, the upper arms. Shoulders, the neck, the facial muscles, the head, the skull, the mind, the scalp, anything else. And again, feel the weight of the pelvis down into the blanket or the floor. Feel the weight of the shoulders, the skull, right? Anything making contact with the earth right now, let it be heavy. Noticing that you are in an inversion if you're on the blanket particularly, right? Our ankles are above our hips, which are above our heart. Let's take about 5 more breaths here. And you know, once you get it, you don't need me to talk you in. You're welcome to listen to the video anytime, every time. But once you understand the pose and the concept, you can just come up into it. What I do at home is I'll literally set a timer for, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. And then I'll just let myself stay there and keep scanning my body and softening as much as I can. For any of my friends who feel like if they soften too much, they won't be able to hold themselves together, or the world won't revolve because they're not pushing it, or any of those things, we need it the most. And I'm here as proof that the world won't fall apart, the world won't stop spinning, and you won't completely fall apart either. Something might rise to the surface, and that's good. Let it out. To come out of this, we're just going to really gently let our feet slide down the wall, bringing the knees towards the chest. Now you can roll either way, right? Whatever way you're going to roll, you're going to reach that arm overhead just to get the shoulder out of the way. You'll roll to the fetal position. You can pause there for a moment. If you need to move or want to move the blanket, you can. And then when you come up, just be aware of the blanket, right? You can slip yourself out of that strap. You might take just a moment on this one. I actually love the support of the wall. I'll move my bolster to the wall, and I'll come up and sit my hips as close as I can and bring my back body against the wall as if I were lying down on it. And with my eyes closed, I just take a moment and check in. What are the effects of this practice in general, and particularly that pose, since that's what we just did? Bring the hands together in front of the heart. Inhale. Bow the head in. Exhale. A moment of gratitude that you gave yourself the space and time. For many of us, this is one of the hardest practices, right? Restorative and slowing down and softening and being gentle with ourselves. It's hard stuff, but you did it. Namaste.